Hello, everyone. I'm Prema. I'm Managing Director of Upstream, and I'd like to welcome you all to Upstream's Impact and Innovation Showcase at London Tech Week this morning. Upstream is a partnership between the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham and Imperial College London. It's a result of an industrial strategy co-produced by these two organisations. We connect, we support, and we shine a light on the science, tech, and creative sectors with a vision for this borough to be a place of truly inclusive and thriving ecosystem with the White City Innovation District at its heart. Today, Upstream has partnered with the Deep Tech Network, a thriving and exciting network we started about 2 years ago, in which we bring together every quarter with our partners from Imperial Enterprise and Chemistry. And my co-host this morning is Rochelle McNay, who is the Innovation and Ecosystem Development Manager and based at Imperial's White City campus. She's actually back in the office. We are thrilled that the organisers of London Tech Week have again chosen to spotlight the pioneers and innovators in Hammersmith and Fulham's ecosystem as part of London Tech Week's Borough Day. We have 6 exciting speakers this morning. They're each going to speak for up to about 6 minutes before they take 2 minutes worth of questions from the audience. Please drop any questions you may have into the chat function and Rochelle and I will pick them up.
As introduced by Prema, hello, my name is Rochelle. I am part of the team at the White City Incubator, and I'm very pleased to continue this trajectory of discussion around the future of health, and I would like to introduce our next speaker, Professor Anthony Bull from Imperial College London. He is the head of the Department of Bioengineering, which is a leading research in biomedical devices and interventions for human health, and biological, that is solving life science problems to improve health, as well as biometrics, which is the designing materials and machines based on structures and the functions of living things. Professor Bull's own research is focused on the basic mechanics of joints and the application of this knowledge and technologies developed to the diagnostics and treatments of pathologies and performance parameters. Oh, that's a great sentence. These are applied to sports biomechanics, injury biomechanics, and the biomechanics of aging, including osteoarthritis. Professor Bull, can I just get you to pop your camera on and kick off with your presentation? Thank you.
I think my camera is on. Can you see me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Thanks, Anthony.
Great. So it's a pleasure to speak here. I just wanted to start with a general comment really on medical technology and how different it is from pharma, recognizing that the safety and efficacy of medical technology relies on many other things and not just the pharmacological effect. And of course, it has its own regulatory system. And I think I just want to give an example that the highest level of proof of efficacy for medical technologies is not a randomized controlled trial. In fact, how many of you would be keen when you get onto an aeroplane to be invited to sign a waiver that you're part of a randomized controlled trial of a new aircraft and that this has never been flown before, and would you like to go be part of this trial? Many of you would say no, and yet of course you have to fly new planes, and so how does one test and develop these? And it is the same for medical technologies. So the approach that is taken in the engineering domain is the technology readiness level approach, which was adopted and started by NASA in the aerospace area. And so the question really is, how do we incorporate that for medical technologies? And at Imperial College, we've done so for medical technologies. We've created a technology readiness level approach and a way of managing technologies through that. So what we've done at the White City campus, and the image in the bottom right-hand corner is our Michael Uren Biomedical Engineering Research Hub, is where we have created an acceleration technology, an acceleration system schema, where we do that within the university, and therefore harnessing the expertise and the facilities and the critical mass and all those things that we have within the university, co-locating them within one building, that allows us to accelerate things far more quickly, but also manage that very difficult valley when you kick out into licensing or into a spin out, and they have to find their own way. And so accelerating things within the organization is a way of bypassing some of the difficulties. Of course, that's hard for academics to do, and so you have to provide embedded project management that perhaps takes some of that leadership away from the academics, but supports them within academia. So this is what we have developed. We have developed MEDTECH 1. This is a funded program, funded currently until 2025, where we have our accelerator, where we have this embedded quality management system that allows our design and technology development to go all the way through basic research, through product development, and then spinning out into a company in this accelerated environment. And I've included the photo of Dr. Anne Rock, one of my colleagues who leads this excellently. We also have a part of this called the MEDTECH Collaborative, which is really driving into policy adoption and clinical trials, which is obviously a very hard piece for medical technologies, and the MEDTECH Foundation, which is providing training for those within the university and our partners. For example, our MEDTECH Superconnector partners, there are 7 other institutions that we collaborate with. And now I'll just finish with one of my examples. So my research has developed over decades, in fact, ways of quantifying the muscular contraction forces that produce movement. This is important because once you know how the muscles are moving, are driving movement, you can start intervening in different ways to change those muscle forces. So this is the sort of the hardcore science, the engineering science that we're involved with. But I guess the key thing to say is that once you know how muscles drive movement, you can start thinking about modifying muscle forces to increase performance, to reduce fatigue, to minimize the effect of injury. But also those forces drive stresses on the tissues of the joints, and these can accelerate or slow down arthritis, wearing and tearing of your joints, or even pain. And so I'll just give you an example of some of the science and how we can use that. And this is an example of a study we did with unilateral transtibial amputees, where we took them through the lab. And we found this intriguing finding. And I'll just very simply show you what this is. So this is the force as someone goes over the gate. So they step with their heel, they swing, and they step with their heel again on the ground. And this is the force on the inside of their knee. And if you are a healthy control, that is the dashed line, then this is the force profile. If you are a unilateral transtibial amputee, then the force profile is almost exactly the same. But your healthy limb, your anatomically healthy limb, has far higher forces. And those forces are the things that drive arthritis. And so these unilateral transtibial amputees are going to get arthritis on their healthy limb, and that obviously is not very helpful. So there are many applications, but this is a scientific proof of something, but how do you then implement a change? And so my last slide is really something that I'm really excited about and that is really kicked off through the accelerator. So this is a graduate of the accelerator, the in-house accelerator at Imperial College. And the technology is to apply functional electrical stimulation on the surface of the muscles at specific points in the movement to change the internal stresses on the tissues. And we are applying this currently to 2 areas. One is osteoarthritis, the wearing and tearing of joints, massive societal problem. And the other one is recovery from certain injuries. And we've been able to embed this within garments that you can wear, with inertial measurement units that provide the movement detecting, and artificial intelligence algorithms that we can then control our functional electrical stimulation. So this, of course, has now left the university. It is a company, and we're beginning to trial this on our patient group. So I'll leave it there, and thank you very much.
Anthony, thank you very much. I'm struggling to come back on video. I hope I'm now back on video. As somebody who has had osteoarthritis for a few years, actually for a rather long time, I think you were the person who was once introduced at a seminar, perhaps one of your colleagues, saying, don't ever take up skiing, don't ever take up certain activities, just really bad for your knee. I think my question is more to do with the earlier part of your presentation, and you spoke about bringing academics together, giving them the support to turn a lot of their good ideas into actual practical, applications for society. And we're talking today about impact. So I suppose, how much have things changed, in your experience working between, this gap between business, industry, and academia? And how do you see things moving ahead in terms of better translation, better prospects?
Okay, I think there are multiple answers to that. The first answer is you have to align rewards. And so within academia, there are some drivers for behavior. You want to conduct really great research, you want to teach, and you also want to ensure societal impact and benefit of your work. And at Imperial College, I think we're pretty good at rewarding that and helping people to secure that societal benefit and impact. So you have to align promotion, rewards, and all of that. That's the first key pillar. And I think we're able to do that. I think the second thing that you have to do is you have to give space for people to spend a little bit of time doing things that might be out of the ordinary. That's a little bit harder because we're all busy and we all want to do everything. And through the accelerator mechanism that we fund within the university, we are actually releasing the academics of some of that time by providing project management elsewhere. And so I, as an academic, don't have to project manage my postdoctoral researchers or whatever in this translational domain. In fact, I can swan in and give the technical expertise that is required. But what I don't have to do is manage the quality management system, the technical documentation and all of that. And I think that's a key part of this. And it's important that we find mechanisms to extend that to other domains.
Anthony, thank you so much. I think you've given us a real life example of the good that Imperial is doing in globally, really. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is Hilary Aylesworth from Arbor Education. Hilary is Head of Product at Arbor Education, which is the fastest growing management information system that's MIS today. Arbor's mission is to ensure that schools and METs work more collaboratively using the right tools and technology to improve the lives of teachers and the outcomes of students everywhere. Hilary is an experienced educationalist with a track record of developing and scaling successful programs and technology products. Her background includes time at Teach First and the New York City Department of Education, and she holds a PhD from Columbia. Hilary, welcome.
Thanks so much, Prima. So we're going to have a bit of point of departure from my colleagues previously kind of in biomedical fields, and we're going to talk a little bit about impact and innovation from a product development standpoint for schools. So I'm going to start here by telling you a little bit more about Arbor and our products, and then I'm going to go into some examples of how we've innovated in the last year, thinking really carefully about the COVID-19 pandemic in particular. So at Arbor, we're on a mission to transform the way schools work for the better, and we do this in a variety of different ways. As Prima was mentioning, we're the fastest growing MIS, that's Management Information System. We've got 1,900 schools that we work with, MATs, local authorities, independent schools, primaries, secondaries, PRUs. We work with everybody. And really our mission, again, as I said, is transforming the way that schools work. And the way that we want to do that through our enterprise platform is giving school leaders, giving teachers, giving administrators at the school level, the tools that they need to sort of work faster and smarter together. And I'm going to show some examples of this. So we are very much in the business of making an impact. In fact, one of the really unique things about Arbor in this particular sector is we're funded by impact investors, which basically means our investor group holds us to account for making a clear impact to schools every term. And our actual funding is based on that impact being measurable and high. So here are some examples of that. So 81% of our customers in our 2020 survey said Arbor's improved the way that they analyze and understand data. 92% said they've saved time with Arbor compared to previous MIS systems. And 92% say that Arbor have changed the way that they work for the better. So now I want to shift a little bit more into how we innovate to make an impact. So those of you who are familiar with product development or product management, there's a lot of prioritization frameworks out in the world that folks use. Again, because we're so focused on making an impact to our school customers, we've chosen one called RICE, and we've really adapted this particular framework to work in our context. So every time that we identify something that we want to do to support schools, it goes through a really careful prioritization process called RICE. The acronym is kind of broken down here. But the idea really is trying to make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time possible, right? So this helps us think really carefully what actually ends up on the product roadmap that we develop and why. What's really helpful about this is then the decisions we make about innovating and prioritizing are all very defensible to our school colleagues and are directly aligned to what they need when they need it. So I'm going to now talk a little bit more about a particular example of us actually doing some of this innovation with schools, with our school partners. So I'm going to talk about our COVID-19 dashboard that we came out with last year and we've innovated on across the whole of this year. But I want to set the stage by probably saying some things you already know about what the problems are, what sort of happened in the school setting as a result of kind of the pandemic, right? So we know that essentially schools suddenly had to work in a completely different way, but none of the tools that they had really caught up to or adapted to their sort of state of play. So we had to think really carefully, if people can cast their minds back to March, 2020, and really thinking about that huge transition. I mean, we had about, I would say, 6 weeks to pull something together to really support our schools to do things like report on the statutory DFE requirements, understand the different staffing patterns that they were required, communicate really clearly with parents. If there were a MAT, communicating across the various schools with new guidelines. And so these are just some examples of the different situations, the different factors that went into some of the product design that we did on our COVID-19 dashboard. In all cases, when you're innovating for product, my belief is that it needs to be deeply practical, it needs to support people where they're at, and it needs to be really timely. So this was a great opportunity for us to think carefully about how do we innovate to make this impact in supporting our schools in this particular context. So this is just a little example of what our COVID-19 dashboard actually looks like. So it allows schools kind of a top level view to see all the relevant statistics. So what absences do I have today? How many of those are related to COVID-19? Obviously, we know there's a whole range of people who are isolating for different circumstances and different stages. So this accounted for that. It allowed them to also do reporting, statutory reporting against this. It allowed them to communicate with parents, with students, with internal staff members about the status of different classes. It allowed them to do things like arrange cover in the nick of time based on, how people were isolating or not, or what their circumstances were. So again, this was a great example for us of us being able to innovate to make that impact when it was really needed. And we pulled together quite a big user group of schools to help us test this out before we rolled it out. But it's been one of the areas I think that we've been able to make a huge impact in our sector this year. And here's some of the feedback that we actually got from our school colleagues utilizing this. And again, really for me, it was a prime example of the entire company pulling together to support schools to do what they need to do at such a crazy time, really, and continues to be something that's supporting them to do the necessary reporting that they need to do and to communicate new policies and changes across the piece in their school communities. So I'm going to just stop there. I know it's a bit of a whistle stop, but hopefully that's given you a bit of insight into how we do product development at Arbor and how we think about innovating to make an impact.
Thank you so much, Hilary. That was exactly right. A really whirlwind change from our previous speakers, but I think really fantastic to see, a kind of a perfect example of what we're trying to talk about over the course of our event today. This is an issue that has come up, we innovated to, and this is the impact that it's had. So congratulations to Arbor for being able to pull something so fantastic together. I guess my question is around, where do you see these types of tools playing a part in the future of education? Do you think that the changes that have happened over the course of COVID, do you think that that will have a long-term impact on the way schools are run? Do you see this as something that will kind of continue for a long-term, for the long-term change in the industry?
Great question, Rochelle. And I think the answer to that sort of plainly is absolutely yes. Just to give you a kind of one clear example of as where Arbor innovates is we're a cloud-based software. So the market incumbent in our particular sector is a server-based software. The cloud-based technology obviously lets folks do things like work effectively from home, right? I can access all my school data. I can do my job effectively. I can report. I can communicate vis-a-vis the Arbor platform from home. So I think the truth is we're seeing these shifts in our working lives, aren't we? I mean, I can say from a company standpoint, we sort of have an adapted hybrid model in terms of some of the time we spend at home and some of the time we spend in the office. We're thinking really carefully about what are the right spaces and places and technology that allows us to do really good work, whether we're, again, at home or together. And I think schools are really doing the same thing. Schools are thinking really carefully about, in this digital transformation journey, frankly, that's been kickstarted in some ways by the pandemic, what tools are the right ones that are going to allow us to work really flexibly? So it's an exciting time, to be honest. It's a really exciting time, I think, for education. It's an exciting time to think about what's best for students as well in terms of their learning journeys. And really, our mission at Arbor is to serve the needs of schools, MATs, local authorities in that particular way. So whatever, their digital transformation journey is, whatever their strategic objectives are, we want to support them through the technology, whether that's, again, our enterprise platform, apps, web apps, a whole range of things to enable them to do what they need to do really effectively. So yeah, I guess for me, it is definitely a moving landscape. And I think the way it's moving is really beneficial to students ultimately, really, really beneficial to students. So I think it's a welcome change. I know it's not been without its growing pains, certainly for our school colleagues. So anybody who is listening, who is working at a school, I just shout out to you. We have a lot of empathy for everything that you do and everything you guys have been through in the last 18 months.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time, Hilary. And I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, who's Aingaran Pillai from Zaizi. So Aingaran is the CEO and founder of Zizi, which is an award-winning open source consultancy. They implement the technologies and platforms needed to help government bodies become high-performing, data-driven organizations. They specialize in digital processes, automation, and open source and cloud technologies, providing solutions to help improve digital performance. So Aingaran has 20 years experience in the tech industry and actually graduated from Imperial College, where he studied software engineering. So take it away, Aingaran.
Thanks, Rochelle, for that introduction. And it's great to be here, especially as a Imperial alumnus and with our offices based in Hammersmith. I'm the founder and CEO of Zizi. So for anybody who's interested in what does Zizi mean, it's a Mandarin word for gifted scholars. So we translate it as genius. When we set the business up, I've been running the company for about 14 years now. And when we set it up, we wanted to do some interesting work, apply some innovation, but really have some impact. The interesting fun fact was when we launched the business in 2007, that's when the iPhone was also launched. And the reason I highlight that is the technology landscape, especially in the last 10, 15 years, has tremendously changed, especially in consumer tech. Consumers, as us as consumers and people at home, have better access to technology than some of the enterprises in the world, any of the enterprises in the world. And then when you take that to public sector, government departments, they're even further behind. And so our mission was about how do we harness those technologies that was available in the consumer space and apply it to government departments to really have an impact on both the organization, but ultimately our fellow citizens who are recipients of the services that government departments provide. We see ourselves as working with predominantly central government departments that have a security aspect to all the work that they do. Ultimately, we are focused on taking that consumer tech, building product teams. For every engagement we have, we see it as a unique product. We have a full team that could effectively work as a startup mindset about how do we understand the real problem, both the citizens facing and the organization. How do we then apply that product mindset and that startup mindset to really, as Hilary mentioned, the RICE model in a prioritization, try and work out how do we have the best impact we can have and apply the right technology to and the innovation to really maximize that. And ultimately, our 10-year plan is to touch 70 million users in the UK. So that's the anticipated population, or the estimated population of the UK by 2030. So we would like to make the UK the safest place to live for everybody in the UK. And I said the way we do it is to take a product mindset, user-centered approach. So about harnessing those consumer technology, but really applying it to the constraints of government departments. And when we work with public sector organizations that are trying to make the UK the safest place to live, these are some of the government departments. Now, I'll try and touch on some of these projects, but obviously I can't go into some of the details because if I tell you, then I'll have to kill you. That's just joking. So for example, our work with Home Office and specifically around border force, we build solutions that collate information from sensors, IoT devices scattered around the UK that help protect our border and provide border force officers with intelligence and intel, as an example. So that's on some of the secure parts. We work with NCSC in terms of their mission to make UK one of the safest places to live. We do some work around ensuring that ethnic underrepresented groups are skilled up and get an interest in cybersecurity and computer science and engineering, whether that being women, ethnic minorities. So, and most recently, we're doing work with the Ministry of Communities and Local Government around how do we ensure there's better housing in the UK. And so that's from helping them understand the policy initiative and how do we execute that policy and what's the digital solutions we can put in place that could help with the policy. So, and we work with a number of other government departments as well. So we work with the Foreign and the Common Government Office around how do we support UK citizens who are abroad and stuff like that. So we do that. And the way we do, and just to give you kind of a technical slide without going into the details, is we take as I said, a product-centered approach. The way we do that is we have a full multidisciplinary team. And one of the challenges of the public sector is always, value for money, demonstrate value for money. So we need to demonstrate value for money, and how do you innovate, have an impact without, when you're spending taxpayers' money. So, and the way we overcome it is to ensure we have a multidisciplinary team. So we have user researchers, product managers, service designers, together with our engineering and the technical folks who are able to not only understand the organizational requirements and challenges and their strategic objectives, but also what does the citizen and the users want out of a service, to be able to co-design something together, test it, and to iterate. So all the while demonstrating real value to both the citizen and the organization, and demonstrating. And that's how we deliver work and to really apply innovation, but also constantly demonstrating the impact that the innovation's having. So this is the team at the Lee Valley. This was pre-COVID. During COVID, as you can imagine, government departments were accelerated their digital innovation. It's one of the jokes that go around social media, if anybody's seen it, who's driving innovation and digital innovation in the organization? Is it your CEO, CTO, or COVID? And so we've actually doubled in size over the last 12 to 18 months, and we're looking to double again, and we're recruiting heavily in and around Hammersmith. So check out our website. Thank you.
Aingaran, thank you so much. It's really great to see the exciting developments and how you're helping government. And the cheeky question is the one I'm not going to ask you, but it's how difficult is it to work with Home Office? But the real question is, what advice do you have to entrepreneurs and who are listening in today, who are striving to be more innovative? What one piece of advice would you give them?
The one piece of advice around is those incremental innovations is what I would say. One of the incremental innovation is key. Don't go for the big bang as an approach. It's, how do you increment? And those little impacts, measure the impact, and that repeat, rinse, repeat is one. The other thing that what we did was to try and build innovation into the team. So by bringing together a multidisciplinary team, I would say, we are an upside down triangle organization. We have the teams are very innovative and people are very capable. If you put the right team together and really give them the support, they're innovative. So that's what I would say. Don't try and force top-down innovation. It's about empowering the teams.
Thank you. That's really, really good advice. And thank you very much for your presentation today. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is Wonsuk, who's from Cosmetheus, and now, it's a slightly different introduction because Wonsuk's actually dialing in from Seoul. He's recently been on the CyLon Spark South Korea program. And I'm going to say a few words about CyLon before I pass on to Wonsuk, and he's going to tell you more about what he's up to with his company. But CyLon is based in Hammersmith. It is Europe's first cybersecurity accelerator, and it's been supporting startups and entrepreneurs to build secure digital foundations since 2015. And it's done this through a range of core initiatives across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, supporting over 100 startups and over 200 entrepreneurs from 35 plus countries around the world. So as I said, Wonsuk's in Seoul, and he's just been out of CyLon's South Korean program. And he's a real reflection, I suppose, of the impact of a Hammersmith-based organization. Wonsuk, welcome, and over to you.
Well, good morning. My name is Wonsuk. Thank you for your introduction, Prima. I'm here representing 15 startups located in Seoul, accelerated by CyLon Spark. It's a really fantastic bunch of startups up and coming, so you can expect to see them in the near future. And I'm really proud to represent them. Without further ado, I would begin my presentation. It was a night of Euro 2020 finals at Wembley. The English football fans were devastated because the football never came home. And among those football fans was one Andy Bone, who after one too many drink, thrown out a pub at 11 p.m., decided to make a very regrettable decision that he will regret for the rest of his life. He posted a very, very offensive, very racist tweet on Twitter. And this tweet went viral within a matter of night. And as a result, his company had to suffer a 13.4% drop in stock market. That's equivalent to loss of 150 million pounds. It was one tweet and it was devastating. And the company did not see it coming. But was this one bizarre case though? No. In fact, 1 in 5 Fortune 500 companies have reported that they experienced a very similar corporate reputation crisis. And in just June of 2021, global companies like Hyundai, Woolworths, IKEA, Lowe's, and Samsung all experienced a social media crises that really heavily affected their businesses. How are businesses dealing with this problem though? They have small teams of employees or PR agency manually monitoring social media on a daily basis. But the problem is the internet never sleeps. People go home at 5 p.m. and that's when they begin starting to use social media, go on YouTube, go on Twitter. And in global scale, if you think about it, the internet literally never sleeps. It's online all the time. So it's obviously extremely costly and we are really prone to human error. So the idea is these small social media teams are swiped by a tsunami of social media workload every day. It's simply not working. So what is our solution to this problem? Introducing VTO. It's an AI social media monitoring solution that is subscription-based. So there is no human involved, so we don't have to worry about VTO sleeping. There is no more human error, and it only costs a fraction of what it does right now. And we're making it so that it covers every array of social media platforms out there. How will VTO change the game? When we have a social media PR crisis, it really starts with one negative post that begins spreading because people are interested in the post, and it then spreads to different social media platforms. By then, we have a full-blown PR crisis. And with manual monitoring, negative voice is usually recognized when it already has spread to different social media platforms. So it's always too late to prevent. But with VTO, the monitoring begins with one negative post. When that post is made, we begin monitoring right away. And it begins spreading, we alert our client immediately in a matter of minutes. So the client has ample time to prevent PR crises like this. We see great opportunity in the English-speaking markets, including the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and Australia, especially in cosmetics, auto industry, and electronics industry, where people talk about their products and complain about them all the time on social media. But where are we at this moment? We're planning to launch our product in early 2022. And right now we're working on our prototype, so proof of concept and MVP testing. We've done our alpha test and beta test. We've achieved 87% negative post detection rate, which we will bring up to 90% by the time of launching. So when we experimented with manual monitoring, it was 50% or so. So compare that to the 90%, 50% versus 90%. It's impressive. So we have the needs, and we also have the market opportunity. There are companies monitoring social media at this moment, but they're either not providing all the services necessary to monitor this kind of event from happening, or they're not as affordable as we can be. So what do we need to make this product go to market successfully? We're looking for investment of £300,000 at £3 million value. And we already have a very strong foundation of a team. we have from business development, sales, marketing, and data science, front-end engineering, back-end engineering, data engineering, UX design. We have every array, every function covered with a team. And with the investment, we will have a CTO and stronger data science team to ensure we deliver better products to our clients. And as a result, we will make this growth happen by entering the UK market, the Australian market in 2022. We will add slander monitoring, where we monitor someone's intentional slandering. In 2023, we'll enter Canada market with fake news monitoring function added to the product. And 2024, we'll add brand sentiment monitoring that monitors how people perceive your brand and your products. And we will enter the United States market to achieve a huge growth in next 5 years. So if there's an investor out there watching me and interested in our product, or if you're a potential client or a partner, please contact me. On the right-hand corner, I have my email address and my phone number. Feel free to contact me even at 2 a.m. I don't mind. So thank you for your time. I'll open up the stage for question and answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wonsuk. And message to investors there is, in very typical startup fashion, the internet doesn't sleep, and neither does the team over there. So yeah, right. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Can obviously see the impact of the accelerator has had. That's some really great kind of early traction and early development there. I guess my question is a little bit around the example that you gave is more kind of an employee monitoring function. And I guess my question is around, are you seeing any kind of potential privacy concerns around your platform, or is it more that your platform will be more looking at, what your customers are potentially saying about your brand, or is it that you're looking at a number of different applications of this technology?
Right. So the example I gave you was an employee, but it was just one tweet. When it began, we had no idea it was an employee. So it's not specifically targeting an employee or someone within it. We're monitoring like all the social media. We don't care who it is. So that the employee monitoring issue shouldn't be a problem. And on top of that, we also encrypt the personal information when it's being monitored. So our clients will be provided with an address of the post so they can take a look at it and take care of it. But we will not give any more information, any personal information than that. We try our best to make sure that we don't infringe any kind of personal information privacy. And also we are not providing any information to government that can also become a potential privacy issue. So we see this purely as a brand monitoring tool that is monitoring social media in general.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue, right? People are putting things out in the public domain. The internet is out there forever. We actually have a question from our audience for you, Wonsuk. And the question is, just wondering if there is an alert for a negative comment for your brand, and will the reaction of the company to the comment be handled automatically by the software, or is it a human employee that then gets involved? So I'm just conscious of time. So if you could give us a really quick response to that question, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So it's going to be, the response will be handled manually, because we already have specialists out there in PR agencies and the PR team who will take better care of the issue than AI tool. So I don't think it's a very efficient idea to do everything automatically. We have a good people out there, talented, experienced people out there. They can take care of it as soon as they're given the information that they have an issue.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time, Wonsuk. And
Thank you.
last plug, if you want to get involved with this technology, please reach out to Wonsuk or any of the team today. We're happy to put you in contact. So I'm pleased to introduce our final speaker for the day. Georgina Owens is the CTO of Liberis, which is a leading global provider of embedded business finance, which has delivered more than 500 million in funding to SMEs across the UK, EU and the US, making it easier for small growing businesses to access finance. Georgina has senior technology leadership and transformation roles, and her experience includes time at startups, as well as household names like Vodafone and WPP. She's recognised as the UK's top 50 most influential women in tech in 2020 and again in 2021. So thank you so much for being here with us. Georgina, over to you.
Thank you very much. So yes, I realise I'm the last presenter here and time is short, so I will whiz through this and hopefully give you lots of interesting information about what we're doing at Libris. It is week 8 for me, so be kind in terms of the questions, but hopefully I've got a decent amount of information that will give you a good understanding of what we're doing. So why are we here and what is our purpose? So the world of small businesses is under supported in terms of finance. Very much that the large banking organizations are slow to respond, heavy in paperwork. And what we believe that we can do is we can support small businesses by giving them a quick and easy solution to be able to provide them with funds that will enable them to grow. In the US, there was an article recently that estimated that there was a 3.4 trillion funding gap for small businesses. And if you can imagine, you know, your general small business person who has to wear many hats, do many things in terms of running their business, what they don't have is lots and lots of time to think about searching the market for getting that little bit of extra cash to enable them to grow their business. So that's what we are here for. And we deliver that solution through technology. And as I go through and talk about our business, what I'll do is talk about how we're using technology to do that. So Liberis started 13 years ago and was very much a financial organization. And then what's happened is that the technology has been built to be able to support the proposition to make it better and faster and frictionless and easy to use and easy to track for the small businesses. So we've now advanced, you know, through 40,000 transactions, over 800 million, and we are expanding. We're currently in US, UK, Nordics, Czech, and we have plans through our new partnership with Klarna to expand that to many more geographies. So what do we mean by a financial solution that is embedded? So we work through partners. So we're a B2B, business to business to consumer. And so what we will do is we'll work through a large partner who has many small businesses that we will embed our technology into their customer experience. So therefore, from the business's point of view, you know, you're transacting with your normal provider. And then what will happen is that the minute that you decide that you want to move forward with the financing, then through a series of application programming interfaces, then the technology that we provide that is embedded into that customer experience will kick in and will then take the small business through the onboarding, the sign up, and the whole life cycle of the funding process. So what does that look like? As you can see here, this is a typical customer portal that a small business might have, and you will see at the bottom, you know, that there is a banner there that says, you know, we have used the information that we have available on an individual business. We use things like open banking with, of course, the permission of the businesses, and we can get access to all of that data using some very clever decisioning and be able to pre-approve an application for a cash advance. And so from the retailer's point of view, from the business's point of view, they know that when they press that button, a large amount of the work has already been done for them. And so it's going to mean that it's very easy for them to then be accessing the cash and getting that cash available to them quickly. Just looking at some of the other alternatives that are available for them through the research that we've done, you know, there are these barriers out there, and I've talked a little bit already about being a very long and difficult application process, taking a long time for the funds to come, having terms that actually don't meet the business, and also, you know, if you're in the throes of trying to deal with all of your customers, you just don't have the time or know where to start to get the funding. So we make it simple, easy, very responsive to be able to do that. And as I've said, we provide an end-to-end solution that we like to think is very scalable, and that is providing a great customer experience. And just rushing through as we're against time here, very high level architectural diagram to show you sort of how we architecting our technology to be able to deliver that experience. And that's it.
Georgina, thank you so much for that whistle-stop tour and that quite amazing organogram at the end. I think my question for you is, what kind of small businesses do you see coming forward? Is there a particular trend, a particular type of small business that seeks your support, and what has it changed during COVID?
It's interesting. So through COVID, there was the government bounce back loans. And so many of the small businesses actually got a very big cash injection through that bounce back. And of course, that was something for us as an organization that has impacted the way that businesses transact and come to us for that. Now, what we're seeing is that as those loans are starting to have to be paid back, that those small businesses are now thinking about their whole cash management and therefore re-engaging with us. But in terms of what kind of business, it's everything. It's butchers, it's bakers, it's barbers, it's every kind of small business.
Fascinating. Thank you, Georgina. And thank you to all our speakers this morning, because I think we've really shown you the range of innovative businesses in Hammersmith and Fulham and the impact they are making on getting us better health, making an impact in education, in schools, for SMEs, for government, and for businesses. So thank you to all our fantastic panel of 6 speakers this morning, and thank you from the team at Upstream at Imperial College and as part of the Deep Tech Network. I hope you have enjoyed London Tech Week, and I look forward to seeing more of you at our events. Thank you.